Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Tullando Farm Virtual Chat. I am Brittany with the Discover Dairy Program, and we are so excited that you are joining us today as we get to meet Farmer Ella and, of course, her adorable adopted calves, Henna, Lulu, Melinda, and Rebel. Today's chat wouldn't be possible without the generous support of the New England Dairy and the Dairy Excellence Foundation. So thank you to both of those organizations for making today possible. First, this live chat is part of the Adopt a Cow program. And for anyone that is new to Discover Dairy or Adopt a Cow, it is a free online resource that covers Common Core standards in math, reading, and science, all while using dairy concepts to teach those lessons. If you're interested in accessing those resources and learning more, you can go to discoverdairy.com. We'd also love for you to join the Adopt a Cow Fund next year. So if you're interested in joining again, or you're new to the program and you want to join the fund, registration is open today. You can actually go ahead to discoverdairy.com/adopt to register for next year's program. The program will start in October of 2022, but you can go ahead and sign up today. So again, that's discoverdairy.com/adopt, and we'll go ahead and put that link in the chat for you so you have an easy access to registration. Next, as everyone continues to join us live today, you will see that chat feature is enabled. Please feel free to use that chat feature, comment, ask questions all throughout our chat. Just be mindful that we want to make sure we keep those questions and comments related to the chat and school appropriate. But we'd love to see who's joining us today. So you can go ahead in that chat, let us know where are you from, what town are you from, what school are you, what grades you are. Go ahead and use that chat and let us know. We'd love to give you a shout out a little bit later on who's joining us today. So we're excited to hear from you. And thank you to all of you who are here today. Again, this is live, so we're excited to have you and answer your questions. For anyone watching this on replay, we're excited to have you watching this on replay. Let us know in the comments section that you've joined us, and feel free to go ahead and pop those questions in the comment section too. We'll do our best to get back to you and answer your questions if you couldn't watch us live. So with that, we are pleased to introduce you to Farmer Ella from Orford, New Hampshire. Hey, Farmer Ella, how are you doing today?
I'm great, and I'm so excited that you guys are all here at my family farm, and I can't wait for you guys all to hear more about it. So,
awesome. Hey, Farmer Ella, real quick, I think your mic might just be a little bit farther away from your mouth, so I'm just having a hard time hearing you.
All right, is that better?
Perfect. Now we can hear you good. Yep, go for it.
Okay, so my family farm was started by my great-grandparents in 1956, and when they bought the property, it was a strawberry farm, and they only had 16 cows, which is crazy because we have 1,000 cows now, and that is just such a big difference. So we have about 500 cows milking right now, and they're all being milked by 8 robots that are basically just made to milk them. So the cows can walk around the barn free all the time. They can eat and drink and milk and sleep whenever they want to. And they're just happy. We have country music playing, which they love, makes them milk a lot. And then we have a lot of different cows all over the farm. Our calves here are out of their regular pen for today, but we have a heifer barn that they're generally in, and that's just full of all these adorable baby calves. And it's just so much fun to walk into those barns and see all the cute little faces looking at you. So if we want to look at our calves, we have Henna, the little red one, who you all know by now. And she is super sweet. She's crazy curious. She's hiding now. But she is so happy and just cause a lot of trouble because she likes to go find everything and say hi to everybody. And then, yeah, Henna, where are you hiding, Missy? And then, yeah, she's just looking around. She's happy where she is. And then Melinda is hiding over here. They're all crazy today. It's kind of windy over here. Melinda is super shy, but she's good friends with the rest of the cows. So she likes to, when we back up a little, she'll come over and say hi to the cows and move up a little more. And then, yeah, Rebel is right closer here, kind of hiding behind Henna in this corner. They like the corner. There's a lot of cows behind them, so they're kind of all hanging out right now. There's Rebel. And then Lulu's hiding in the corner over here, but she is such a sweetheart, aren't you? She's hiding.
They're all
Hi,
like,
Lulu.
is it our turn to shine now? Or what do we get to do?
There we go. Hey, you.
Oh my gosh. So they look like they've gotten really big, Farmer Ella. Do you want to tell us, like, do you have any idea how big they are at this point? And maybe talk about what they're eating now?
Well, they're crazy huge. They've grown so much. I haven't checked their weight or height super recently, but I do know that they're eating a crazy amount of food and drinking so much water. We have some of their food over here. This is, we call it TMR. It's basically, it's kind of like a smoothie, actually. It's a mix of all of these different foods. It's got hay and corn and grains, and they just love to eat it. And they eat a lot of it every day. And so that has about everything they need to eat. But of course, they have grain for like treats, and there's grain in that as well. And then they have an automatic waterer, which they can just drink as much water as they want to, because cows drink a lot of water a day.
Yeah. And I think so. I'm sure these calves probably maybe drink, I don't know, 10 gallons of water a day. I'm not sure, but do you happen to know how much water a
Yeah.
grown cow drinks? I think it's a lot, right?
Yeah, it's a lot. I'm blanking on the exact number, but it's crazy amount.
Yeah, I think it's like I think the analogy people like to use is a bathtub full of water, or I think what would be similar to 40 to 50 gallons, which is insane. But they make a lot of milk, so that makes sense if they need to drink a lot of water.
Yeah.
Oh, look at them. So I think you had said they're probably what, about 8 months old at this point?
Yep. Yeah. Hi, you.
Oh, so if they're 8 months old,
Yeah.
they look like they're probably, oh my gosh, I don't know. They come up to almost your shoulder, right? So maybe they're like
Yeah.
40
They're,
inches, 45 inches or something.
yeah. You've grown so much, you big girls.
Oh my goodness. And probably close, they're probably getting close to 500 pounds, I would say. They're getting big. To think they started at less than 100 pounds when they were born, and now they've just gotten so big. Oh my goodness. So remind us which one, this almost all black one, which one is that one again?
This one right here, this is Rebel. And
Oh,
then we have Lulu coming up over here.
no.
And then Henna and Melinda are hiding in the corner.
Gotcha. So Melinda's the one right next to Henna, and Henna's our beautiful red and white one. So awesome. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. So Farmer Ella, you mentioned that that you brought these girls here just for our chat today. So we could see them and hang out with them. But where do they normally live? And just talk about where they normally live now, and where is the next place they'll go as they get older.
So we have a great big barn that's full of baby cows all the way up to cows. They're about 9 months old. And they have little pens in the barn, but they all just kind of hang out, and they have there's a lot of stalls, one for each of them, but they can move around. So they don't have a specific stall, and they have food all the time and water. And then as they get bigger, you probably remember that when we first had them in the hutches, the little white, like they kind of look like igloos. They were in there all of the time. And then now that they're bigger, they're going to be moving out of that calf barn that I mentioned, and they're going to be moving into another barn that's actually right behind us here. And this is cows. It's got kind of everybody. We have some cows who are pregnant, some who are about to have calves, which is so exciting. We love our new babies. And then we have some who've had calves, so they're not milking right now, which is called dry cows. So they're just kind of hanging out in between. Kind of fancy terms, but
Right. Okay.
simple.
That's pretty cool. So so they'll move on to one of the barns that are around here. And when Farmer Ella, when do they become a full grown cow? So maybe when will they have their first calf? And is that when they get to join the milking herd, or what does that look like for them in their future?
Yeah. So most of our milking cows are about 2 years old. They're sometimes a little older, but generally around 2 years old. And then they milk for about as long as we have them. They have summers. We have great big pastures all over the town, which is always fun to drive by and see. And I have friends who will stop by and say, "Oh, we got to see your cows running around the field," and something everybody loves.
That's awesome. Oh,
Yeah.
that's very cool. So Just wanted to, while we are waiting for a couple of questions, I just wanted to shout out to those who let us know they're here. So hello to the Miller School in Maine. They're fourth graders. So hello. And then Mrs. Johnson's third grade class in Peru, Maine. Welcome, everybody. We've got some folks from Ossipee, New Hampshire, who adopted Melinda. So we're excited to have you guys. And we've got some middle school, Seabrook Middle School, who has joined us. So welcome. Got some folks from Idaho. Hello. But that nice to have you guys. And we also have a second grade class from East Belfast Elementary in Maine, and Mrs. Wood's third grade class also in Peru, Maine. So thank you guys for joining us today. We're excited to have you. So to kind of go back on to some questions here, we had someone wondering from Miss Marrow. They were wondering if calves like to play, and how do you know if they're playing? Like what do calves do to play?
Well, sometimes they'll just run and jump in the field with their friends. We have some doing that in a field behind us right now. Sometimes I have a few cows who I'll put a soccer ball in their pen and they'll kick it around. They seem to like to do all sorts of things with playing, but yeah, cows are very playful.
They're very playful, yeah. They seem to really just kind of hang out in groups, right? Like they probably just, cows don't, like, I mean, they can't sing songs or anything, so they just kind of headbutt each other and buck around, right? They play a little bit differently than humans, but awesome. We have a good question coming in, and I know you briefly mentioned it, but maybe Farmer Ella, if you want to take a little bit more time talking about this. Miss Woods asked, how do you milk the cows on your farm? So maybe just talk a little bit more about that and the opportunity that your farm has when milking cows.
So our farm is one of the only farms that has robotic milkers. We have 8 robots that the cows, there are 4 pens in our big milking barn, and there's 2 robots in each pen. And the cows just kind of walk in, and they all have a collar that has a little chip that can be scanned so that the robot kind of knows where they've been and how much they're milking and what they're eating and what they're drinking, which is really cool and helps us because we used to have to work all the time and milk all day long. And now the robots do a lot of this for us. So we can spend more time with the actual cows, which is so much more fun. But it's nice to, the robots are great. We've had them since 2014. We just love the robots. Just love them too. They get grain when they get milked, and they just kind of hang out.
Yeah, it sounds like a very relaxing experience. But is that a good way to, and it sounds like they kind of just walk in on their own, right? So they can come in whenever they feel ready to be milked. And is there a max number of times they can be milked, or how does that work?
Well, they can kind of go in as many times as they want, which is nice because, as before we had the robots, we would do certain milkings at certain times. So some cows, they didn't like the schedule as much. So this is much better for individual cow because they can just kind of go to the robot whenever they want. But because they do get grain, we have some that just want to keep going back through over and over to get more grain. So we have one cow who milks a lot, and so she can go in more times because we know she's not going to get grain. She's going because she has more milk. It depends. Most go in like 3 or 4 times a day.
Okay. That's pretty cool that and I think that's a testimony to them really enjoying the milking process because they're choosing to go in and they're choosing to go more than that average 2 times a day that most farms milk cows. So they must provide a really awesome environment for them. And what awesome technology to have on your farm. Like you've got robots milking your cows, which is just the craziest thing. I know sometimes we have this image that farmers are in overalls and pitchforks, but it's just a neat opportunity your farm has to just really be very technologically savvy. And I'm sure that means your farm is pretty much running on technology. So without technology and internet and being able to do that, you wouldn't be able to manage your cows. So it makes your farm pretty high tech, right?
Yeah, no, it's nice to have it. And I remember when I was tiny, we had just gotten the robots in, and I was still thinking it was crazy. And now it's so natural for me to have them there. But yeah, it's such a cool opportunity because not a lot of people get them.
Right. No, that's really cool. Awesome. Thank you, Farmer Ella. We have a good question come in from Miss Campbell. She was wondering, why do the cows have numbers in their ears? And do you want to just talk about, what it's like to have a tag in their ear and why do you use them?
So we have tags in all of our cows because it's hard to keep track of 1,000 cows. And although we try and we know the markings of a lot of the cows, it's still pretty hard, especially when there's just so many of them. And even though they all have names, it's nice to be able to see a number right when you walk up to them. And they have the number. It's kind of like when you get a piercing, like an earring or something like that. They don't remember it. We do it as a baby and it doesn't bother them. It's not something that is stressful to them. They have no memory or no pain from it. It's just kind of there. They are used to it by now, and it's just kind of a thing that goes with them all the time. But yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So it's an important piece in addition to that collar you were talking about that is used for the robots. It's another important way of being able to identify them quickly. And as you said, these four, I think they all look relatively different, but when you add another like 400 cows, it's a lot of cows to keep track of.
Yeah. Especially we have all Holsteins, so they're all black and white, except for the few that are red and white. But most of them look so similar that it's just way too hard to tell them all apart.
Right. Nope, that makes sense. And that sounds like a pretty easy way to keep track of them. Awesome. Thank you, Farmer Ella. Let's see. We have someone who was wondering. This is a good question. They're asking specifically about Melinda, but obviously this can apply to all four of them. What will they do for a job when they're full grown? So do you want to just explain? I know we talked about that they're milked, however many times they want a day, but then what's the rest of their grown adult life like?
So yeah, once they're about 2 years old, they're getting to be pretty full grown. They'll have calves and milk like we talked about. And then they don't have like a job like most of your parents will. They don't go to like an office or anything. Their job is really to be in the barn when they care for the first few hours, but we actually will take the calf right out of the pen. So they're not really parents in most cases. They do have a lot of calves, they're babies, but their main job is just to milk and kind of have a happy, carefree life.
Right. Yeah. I think so what the milking process itself in a robot, I mean, maybe 15 minutes if they're in the robot total. Does that sound about right, Farmer Ella?
Yeah, it's not a very long process and it's pretty chill.
Yeah. So they're maybe working 30 minutes a day. So then the other 23 hours and 30 minutes a day, they get to just relax and hang out and eat and drink and be with their friends. So that sounds like a pretty awesome adult life to me. So that's what Melinda and Henna and Rebel I'm forgetting the other one, and Lulu all have to look forward to when they get older, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. And one of our favorite things that we got actually at the same time as the robots is we have these big brushes. There's one in the back there if you can see it. And the cows can walk up to the brush and it'll just give them a nice back scratch and they love it. And so that is one of our favorite things, and the cows' favorite things too, that they have access to all day long.
That's cool. I think if I were a cow, I'd be under that back scratcher like all the time, getting myself a massage all day. That's cool.
Yeah.
We've had a couple of questions coming in from some folks just asking about the average age of a cow. So do you happen to know maybe what's the oldest cow you've ever had on your farm? And then maybe what's the average age of a cow on your farm?
I think one of our oldest cows, her name was Erica. She, I think, was 14 or 15 years old. Most of them we have until they're about 10 years old, maybe 11 or 12, but that's about their average age.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so just to help put that in perspective for some folks, I know thinking, hearing only 10 years old, maybe that sounds like it's not very old, but they're big animals, right? And I would say what I've heard is about one cow year is about equivalent to 10 human years is what I've heard Farmer Ella. And I think that's probably about right, because if they're pregnant and have their first calf, by the time they're 2, they're about 20. So if your cows are living to 10, 11, 12 years old, they're 100 and 110, 120 years old, which that's incredible. And it sounds like they're living a really long, healthy life on your farm, which is awesome.
Yeah. Those ones are nice old ladies. We have a pen. We just kind of call them our old ladies. They get about whatever they want. They don't have a lot of a job anymore. They just kind of boss us all around.
They get to be spoiled as they get older and are in retirement.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Very cool. All right. So we've got some other questions coming in here. Let's see. Miss Woods, they were just to help clarify, they had asked how much do they eat. I think we had talked about that they eat that TMR or that total mixed ration. I don't know if we ever said how much. Is it probably maybe like 10, 15, 20 pounds a day or something like that? Does that sound about right, Farmer Ella?
Yeah, it's mainly between 15, 20 pounds a day, which seems like a lot of food for a small person, but or even for me to think about, but they're huge. They're way bigger than any of us. So yeah,
Right.
they need way more food and way more water.
Awesome. Yeah, absolutely. We talked about St. James School. You guys were asking what is in their food, and I believe Farmer Ella, you had said there's like some grain and some silage and some I think water is mixed in there and some grasses. Am I missing anything that's in the feed?
No, that's about it. That's mainly, we chop our own grass and our own corn, and they eat a lot of that. That's most of their diet. But then sometimes they'll have like of hay, just for a lot of different reasons. But yeah, there's grain in there too. Not much, but enough. Kind of like a daily supplement.
Oh, so kind of like their vitamins. That's pretty cool. That's cool. A good question from Miss Morel. They were wondering, what do they sleep on? And is it, how often is it cleaned? What does that look for? And do they have a sleeping pattern? Like, do they go to bed at night and wake up in the morning? Or what does sleeping in general look like for cows?
So yeah, what I'm kind of standing on right now, we actually have a cow, two of them are sleeping right now, kind of taking a nap. This is the shavings, that's most of their bedding. We have some pens like this one that they're in right now is just shavings, and we call it a pack. So it's shavings on top of shavings on top of shavings, and we just kind of build it up over time, and we'll scrape some of the layers back and then do it again, so it's super comfortable and soft. And then we have, in a lot of the barns, we have what we call mattresses. So it's like a nice rubber pad that goes on the cement, and then we put, sometimes it's the shavings that we have here, and sometimes it's what we call, it's recycled manure. So we have a machine that recycles all of the manure that we have from the cows, and it makes it all nice and comfy and dry, and we put it back on the beds, and the cows get so comfortable. They lay out and they just like roll on their sides and sleep for hours, and they mostly sleep at night, but sometimes you'll see some of them now, they'll just get tired if we're playing with them for a while, so they'll like to go to bed and take a nap early.
So that's pretty cool. I would say that's something else that's really unique about your farm. You talk about how the manure is turned into bedding, which, how cool is that you can recycle that manure, turn it into bedding. And maybe again, some of us watching are like, you have them sleep on manure? Like what? But as you said, you have a process that pulls all the liquid out, it pulls all the smell out, well, most of it. And it really ends up just being processed food, because it's not like these cows are eating candy and all kinds of crazy stuff. They're just putting in grasses and fresh feed, and so that's all that's coming out, right? So their bedding is very, very clean and much cleaner than anything that's coming out of us as humans. So that's really cool. You can recycle and reuse that, and
it's actually, we've done a few yeah, we've done some experiments with it. We actually comfortable in the shavings, and we're not sure why, but they seem to love it. So
that's cool.
Yeah,
that's very cool. Awesome. Let's see. So we've got another question from Mrs. Flanagan's class. They want to know, how much milk does a cow give each day? So do you have any idea how much milk a cow can produce in one day on your farm?
Well, we have a lot of different, it depends on the cow. We have some cows who like to make so much milk, it's crazy. And we have some that make way less milk, and it depends on the cow's size too. So if we have a really small cow, they'll make less milk. I think on average it's about maybe 80 pounds or something like
Mhm.
that a day. But we
Mhm.
have I actually have one little cow. She's a tiny little red one who just never really grew much bigger than she was as 1 or 2 years old. And she makes about 50 pounds of milk a day, which is less
Huh.
than normal. But for her size, it's actually a lot of milk. So, but then we have one she makes a crazy amount. Sometimes it's 170 pounds a day, which is a ridiculous amount.
Wow, that is a lot of milk. I was quickly trying to get my calculator out to try and do some math here. So we're talking in pounds, and some folks are like, might be thinking, why are we talking in pounds? So that's very much so a farmer term. They measure and they are paid by the pound of milk, and that's how farmers use the term. But for humans, we are kind of associated by gallons, and there's about 8.8 pounds in a gallon. So you said your average is about 80 pounds. So if we divide that by 8.8, that's almost 9 gallons of milk a day that a cow can produce, which is incredible. And then you have hundreds of cows on your farm and multiply that by the hundreds of cows. And then every day, you do this 365. So that's a lot of milk that your farm and family are producing, which is incredible. And speaking of milk, do you happen to know where the milk goes once it's picked up from your farm? Do you happen to know like a brand it goes to or anything like that?
I do. So we have really big truck comes, and it used to be every day, but now it's every other day, and it comes to milk, and it all goes to Hood. So if you buy Hood milk, you might be getting some Tullando Farm milk too.
That is cool. So I'm going to recap that real quick. So you said Hood. So if anyone ever buys Hood milk, you could be drinking milk from our adopted calves moms or anyone else in their herd. So how cool is that? You got to make sure. So if you guys are in the store or checking it out, definitely try to look for the Hood brand, and that would be very, very neat. So thank you, Farmer Ella, for sharing that. What an awesome opportunity
Yeah.
to connect it right to you guys and drink milk potentially from our adopted calves moms, which is pretty cool. Awesome. So gosh, Farmer Ella, we have had so many good questions coming in, and we are getting closer to wrapping it up so we can keep to our half hour. But we did have another good question come in. They were wondering how many calves can one mother have at a time, and then maybe how often do they have calves?
So we have most of our cows just have one calf at a time. We've had a few cows have twins, which is generally okay. It's just not that common. Just kind of like people, it's more common to have one baby at a time. And then we've had one cow have triplets, I believe. I don't think we've had more than one. And that was really rare, but
Right.
that was cool. It's very rare to have triplets on a farm. And
Yeah.
then most of them, it depends if some of them will be happy to get pregnant again and have another calf, and some of them, they just don't like it and they'd rather spend their time out in a field. And so some of them, it'll be like 4 or 5 calves, and sometimes that's good. That's, I think, about average for the farm.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes
Sometimes,
sense.
yeah.
Absolutely.
We
Yeah,
have
that's good.
one cow who's had a lot of calves, but she has had a lot of calves, and she's just happy doing it.
she's a good baby producer and a good milker, and she's probably a really good member of your herd and living life largest. Like she's probably really enjoying life, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And that's awesome. And actually, one last question about the cows that I'd love to make sure we cover before we jump off today. We had a good question about just like how do cows, what do they do when it gets hot? So maybe you as a farmer Ella, what does your family do to help keep cows warm in the winter, cool in the summer? What are some things you can do to provide them the ideal environment in their farm?
Yeah, so obviously it's New Hampshire. It gets really cold in the winters. That's why we all bundle up in coats. So the cows actually produce a crazy amount of heat. So if we close all the doors, and we have a lot of windows in our barns too. So if we close all of those down, the cows will make all of this heat, and it'll just kind of stay in the barn. So they kind of are their own heaters. But then they also grow really thick and big coats, which helps them stay warm. And then in the summer, they start to kind of shed that coat out, so it's lighter and there's less hair on them, and so it's easier to stay cool. And then sometimes we'll give them baths. And if I have cows going to a show, I'll clip them so that it's nice and short and they're happy, because they're generally working more at a show, so they can get a little bit more sweaty, and we want to keep them pretty cool. And then we have really big fans in every single pen of the barn. And there's just a lot of them all the way down the barn. And that blows in the cows. And sometimes you'll just find one standing in front of the fan trying to stay cool. But that keeps them pretty cool.
That's awesome. And I think, so that sounds like you guys have a really great way of keeping them happy and healthy. And I'm pretty sure the cows don't like super extreme heat, so they actually thrive in colder weather, right? Like they like that 40 to 50 degree weather, that at cooler temperatures anyway. So they live their best life at your farm for sure. They enjoy colder weather.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. And because we live in such a big area with all these trees, a lot of the pens that our cows are in the summer, if they're not in a barn, they're in a field. A lot of those have a lot of shade from all the trees. And so they can just kind of hang out under the trees all day long, which they like too.
Oh, I'm sure. Oh my goodness. Farmer Ella, we have really had a lot of fun hanging out with you today. I have one final question to ask you before we jump off today. And I just wanted to say thank you, Sorellis, Allen, for giving us some love about Lulu. They loved seeing Lulu today and they loved hopping on. So we're glad you guys could join us too. But our last question for you, Farmer Ella, is what is your why? Why have you and your family decided to be dairy farmers? And maybe tell us what's your favorite part about farming too? I'd say you're a pretty young dairy farmer. So, what's your passion and why have you chosen to participate and do this with your family?
Well, my great grandparents started the farm before I was around to ask them why. But I do know that my grandfather fell in love with it ever since the time he was a little boy growing up on the farm. And so I think just growing up around cows, he just wanted to spend his whole life around them because they're such cool animals. And the same is true for my dad. He just wanted to spend all day with the cows. And then growing up, I had horses from my mom's side of the family, but all I wanted was to be with all of the cows all day long. And so I decided to stop riding horses so I could come play with the cows, because cows are pretty cool and they're such sweet animals, and they're just generally seen as animals that make milk. We don't think of the cows, we think of the bottle of milk that we have in our fridge. And so I like being able to spend time with the actual cows and getting to know them is more than just the milk.
Right. Farmer Ella, I love that you guys are this, multi-generational dairy farm, and truly just it's a passion of love and labor, but you guys are really good at taking very good care of your cows. It's very clear and evident. I mean, these girls are very relaxed and hanging out with us, and they're very clean and happy and content. So thank you so much to you and your family for being excellent dairy farmers and taking such good care of them and providing them the perfect place to live. And thank you for providing a really nutritious and healthy product for us, because clearly, as a farm that's clean and well maintained like this, we know the milk coming from your farm is healthy and safe to consume, just as it is from any farm across the country. Every farmer, just like Farmer Ella, works really hard to make sure that their cows and their farm are clean and happy, so that way we can produce and consume a really healthy, nutritious product. So thank you, Farmer Ella, for first of all letting us join you today and see our girls. It's been a lot of fun, and also for just being really awesome farmers and sharing your delicious dairy products with us, because I really like my ice cream, and I'm sure lots of people like their dairy products too. So we'd be lost without your hard work and dedication. So thank you, Farmer Ella. And is there anything else you'd like to share with us before we tune off for today?
Not much, just cows are so much fun, and I'm so glad that you guys all were a part of this, because I know the cows were super happy to have photographs and they love all the attention. So they were really happy with it. So I'm glad you guys got to be a part of it.
Awesome. Yes. And we loved having all of you too. Thank you so much to all of you. We see a bunch of thank yous coming in. Thank you from Miss Johnson's class. They adopted Lulu. From Miss Wood's class. Thank you from Dorigo Elementary. Thank you from OCP Central School. Thank you. This was so much fun from Ms. Greer. So thank you everybody for joining us today, and anyone watching this on replay. We are definitely excited to have you too. Remember, let us know you watch this on replay. Go ahead and put that in the comments. And we look forward to having you all next year in the program. Don't forget, registration is open. You can go to discoverdairy.com/adopt to sign up for next year's program, and we start in October. We're excited to have you then, and we look forward to chatting with you soon. Take care, everybody. Bye. All right, we are good.